Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks so much for joining me. I'm super excited to be sharing with you my newest motivational illustration. And today we're going to be talking about the most frequently asked questions regarding self-care. For today's illustration, I've chose the quote, "Stop trying to calm the storm. Calm yourself and the storm will pass." And I think this quote is beautifully said and is well suited for today's day and age. I feel as though we need to recognize that it's not the situation that's the problem, it's our response to the situation. And only through self-care can we learn how to bridle our actions and respond in a way that's going to further benefit us rather than bring us stress and anxiety. And for the art on this illustration, I have chose a woman who seems to be having her own stress and her own struggles, and she's deciding to take the time for herself and give her body and mind some love and be able to continue on in a healthy state of mind. And now let's move on to the questions. The first and most obvious question that is asked frequently about self-care is, what is self-care? And the definition I found is, it's the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health, most particularly during periods of stress or anxiety. We need to remember to take time, reflect, and refresh ourselves as to not keep dredging on in stress. Question number two. Question number two is why self-care isn't considered selfish. And I don't believe self-care should ever be considered selfish, because when you take the time to invest in yourself, you go from just barely skating through every day, exhausted and really not having a good time, to actually living. And you begin to find yourself in the things that you do. You begin to learn what you like and what you dislike. And by doing that, you begin to find purpose in yourself. And then when you find purpose kind of stokes a little fire. And you begin to get motivation because you find things that you're actually excited to be doing and to be learning. And when is that ever going to be a bad thing, to learn something new? And honestly, the best road to physical health is through self-care. You can reach your greatest and healthiest you by just taking care of your mental and physical well-being through self-care. And it's also a great reminder that you are more than worthy of. Number 3, why is self-care important during COVID? And for this question, while I was researching, I came across a passage on premierhealth.com, and it says, when you follow a regular plan to take care of yourself, you are better equipped to handle stress, avoid burnout, and help family cope with any changes to daily life that the pandemic may throw at you. And I couldn't agree with this more. When you take time for yourself, you return yourself to a calm state, and it allows you to better help your family move through each new and crazy day in this life. Question number 4 is, why is self-care important for mental health? And for this question, I also found a quote from a website, and the website is sbtreatment.com. And it says, self-care relies on increased self-awareness, which can benefit people who are living with a mental health illness. Practicing self-awareness can help you to recognize patterns in your emotions, including events or situations that worsen your symptoms. And if you can find what triggers your bad mental health days, then it's going to be so much easier to wake up and combat your own downfalls, which aren't your fault. Question number 4 is, why is self-care important for mental health? And for this question, I found a quote on sbtreatment.com that says, self-care relies on increased self-awareness, which can benefit people who are living with a mental illness. Practicing self-awareness can help you to recognize patterns in your emotions, including events or situations that can trigger worsened symptoms. And so, just by taking time to learn yourself, you can figure out ways in order to avoid potentially harmful mental situations. So when we begin to dive into our own personal self-care journey, we're actually diving into the ability to maintain and understand your own mental health, which is so very important in regards to achieving and sustaining a happy and comfortable life for yourself. Now that we've talked about why self-care is important for mental health, we also need to look into why self-care could potentially be difficult for mental health. With question number 5, why is self-care hard for depressed individuals? And first off, we need to look into what depression actually is. Depression is a dysfunction of your frontal lobes, which is responsible for executive functioning that involves problem solving, judgment, and reasoning. Certain skills that are impaired by depression are attention, decision-making, emotional control, emotional functioning, foresight, flexible thinking, insight, judgment, planning and prioritizing, reasoning, recall, self-monitoring, willpower, wisdom, and working memory. So it's very understandable why a mental health disorder such as depression could make it hard or feel very unattainable to achieve a proper self-care plan and routine. But it is our job to realize that depression is not who we are. It is something we merely have to deal with. With that being said, we can now move into question 6. How to self-care when depressed. In order to self-care when depressed, we need to start small. Realize that depression makes self-care very difficult. So start with getting out of bed, taking a shower, or simply getting some sunlight. And then make sure to put yourself in motion. Get up and make yourself some coffee. And then get dressed. And keep taking one small step after the next. And now that you've gained momentum, make sure that you're staying active. And get some sort of exercise. Even if it's just some yoga or some simple stretches. Because getting up and moving around can really help to improve your mood. Also make sure to make time to do things you enjoy, like watch a movie, color, draw, call a friend, or even just read a book. We also need to make sure that we're paying attention to our health. We need to try and eat a balanced diet, drink plenty of water, and gain a sleep routine to make sure we're getting plenty of sleep to rejuvenate ourselves. And we also need to remember to be kind to ourselves, because depression is not your fault. And you really need to be gentle with yourself until you start feeling better, because it takes time. And now for question number 7. How to self-care at home. And for me, self-care is just finding a balance between the everyday life tasks and your own personal enjoyment. So eat, clean your home, follow your hygiene regimen, Do things for yourself, exercise and work. Just make sure you find a balance in doing so. Thank you so much for sticking around. And out of curiosity, do you have a self-care routine? I'd love to hear it. And as always, sending good vibes and well wishes your way.